comic book, Bill?
Well, it's perfect. I'm going to inject my ideas right into the thumping heart of America. I mean, I'll get a real artist to draw it properly.
She's an Amazon princess that lives on an island of all women.
Paradise Island.
And a man crash lands on the island.
Yeah, Steve Trevor the spy.
And she wears a burlesque outfit.
Well, it's athletic.
And silver bracelets.
They deflect bullets.
And all her friends and helpers are sorority girls who have spanking parties and everybody fights Nazis and rides in an invisible plane.
Yes. What?
Bill, we love you, truly. But nobody, and I say this with all the compassion and truth in my heart, nobody will ever publish this.
Dr. Marston, you are an esteemed psychologist with considerable accomplishments, most notably the invention of the lie detector test. Creator and sole author of the Wonder Woman comic books. Why don't you write Wonder Woman under your real name?
I write what I see about women I know.
Beautiful, brilliant, ferocious.
They have the power within themselves to create their own destiny.
What is powerful about a woman running around in a bathing suit?
I think you long for an unconventional life.
What we want can never happen. The world can't stop us.
I wonder if you're the one with the secret identity.
War, violence, hatred. The path to peace is not through finance or politics. It is to solve the problems of man's heart. That's why we need Wonder Woman.
And never boring.
Suprema the Wonder Woman? It's too wordy.
Why don't you just call her Wonder Woman? I like it.
Hi, welcome to Build. This is Gwyn Watkins from Yahoo Entertainment, and I am here with the cast and the director of Professor Marston and the Wonder Women. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we have the director here, Angela Robinson, and
hello.
Now, Wonder Woman is a very timely topic right now, but I understand this was a tough movie to get made.
Yes, I've been working on this project for about 8 years. So it took me about 4 years, nights and weekends between TV jobs to write it, and then another 4 years to get it made to what you see on the screen Friday.
And so this is it's really a love story, this movie. And I think people might not expect that. It's a love story between these three beautiful people. And I'm interested to know from the actors how much you knew about this amazing true story going in, and what your personal interest in it, what connected you to these roles.
I didn't know the story behind Wonder Woman, the people behind her. It was only when I read Angela's script did I find out this incredible story of these three people that fought for what they believed in and accomplished quite incredible things, and then created this this female superhero character who is more famous today than she was 75 years ago. So it was a real eye opener for me, and allowed me to then go back and do more research. And there's lots of information about the three people and their lives, and so yeah, it was great.
I actually, I heard about it when I read Jill Lepore wrote a piece in The New Yorker, and then it became a book called The Secret History of Wonder Woman. And I read that piece, and then I got the book, and then I tried to option the book to make the film myself. Didn't work out, obviously, probably for the best. But during the course of that, I mean, I'd not necessarily been a Wonder Woman fan per se. I knew about her, and I was excited that she was probably the rare instance of female representation in superheroes. But when I found out that her origin story is driven by a group of people who had an intention, specifically this one, Mr. Marston had an intention to create feminist propaganda, essentially, to inspire boys and men to respect female authority, and that it's rooted in this feminist history. I was completely compelled and fascinated by it. So then when I found out that someone else had been trying to do it for 8 years, I, got into a series of bribes and whatever I could to get in.
It all worked out.
Yeah.
Bella, how about you?
I knew nothing about the story, so it was completely, a surprise to me and a shock, actually, when I read it. But also just to read a script that was good, and to read a script that had female characters that had a full arc. My character, you see a young girl who's somewhat naive and unsure of herself grow into a woman who, knows what she wants and is willing to sacrifice to get it. And they're all characters that are completely three-dimensional and human and flawed, and just, I love them. I love them all instantly, and I just wanted things to work out for them, and I just thought I have to be a part of this project.
It's a really beautiful relationship that we see growing between these three people, and in a kind of a very contemporary portrait of polyamory in a lot of ways, which you don't really see so much on film. Was that a subject that you or any of you researched? Did you talk to people who are in relationships like this one?
I have a friend who's in the poly community, and it was great because she was just really open and willing to talk about it. And she was also just as excited as I was for the film to happen and to come out, because she feels that their community just hasn't been represented at all. And if it has, it hasn't been done with, respect and love. So, yeah, it was a kind of great process to go through with her as well.
You have a great phrase you used yesterday,
a conventional
conventional love story about unconventional people.
Yeah, I think it describes them perfectly. It's they were quite conventional, weren't they, in the way they lived their lives. The fact that they were in love as a polyamorous relationship, three people, wasn't really the important factor in their lives. They just wanted to be together and have a conventional life.
They didn't have they didn't have words like polyamory or any sort of defining, identity words like that. They wouldn't know those words. They were just living their truth. But, I think what's extraordinary about what Angela has done is this isn't other films that you see about unconventional relationships, specifically relationships that involve more than two people, are usually, the obstruction to the love story is usually this one's jealous of that one, it'll never work, this one has these issues, and it's all internal. Like the story of the narrative is an internal one. And in this story, actually, the obstructions are not them. They really love each other, and it sort of rather boldly asks you to go along with that. The obstructions are more lifelike, like how are we going to live? How are we going to pay the bills and raise children and, exist in the world and be the kind of people that we want to be? And
have to hide as well, which is something that it reflects into, and it's very radical. And it also reflects into the story of Wonder Woman, that she had to hide her true self from man's world so that she could be in love with Steve Trevor, the spy. There's a lot of comparisons, and throughout the whole film, you'll see how this threesome relationship, how they felt, and how they've impacted each other's lives, massively impacted the story of Wonder Woman.
And Marston put a bunch of clues into the early Wonder Woman comics, and even into Wonder Woman herself, that Olive Byrne, Bella's character, wore silver bracelets that became the inspiration for Wonder Woman's silver bracelets, or Wonder Woman's lasso of truth is, derived from the lie detector test that Marston invented with the help of Elizabeth and Olive. And so it was really neat to kind of do this detective work where I was a Wonder Woman fan originally, and I just read through the Wonder Woman comics, and then I started doing the history, being like, oh my gosh, he was really putting his life into the comics, but nobody knows about this.
So the other thing having to do with the lasso of truth is there's some rope tying, some bondage, some loving kink going on in this film. Now I understand you met with some female dominatrixes to help research.
You all did.
You all did. You all did. All right.
Oh yeah. It's quite a day. I have the scars to prove it.
It was really really important to me. I feel like the portrayal of any type of kink on screen has a pretty dismal past, and so it was really important to me to get it right and to be respectful, and I didn't want to like otherize their experience. So there were these two awesome women I met. Originally, I asked the producers to find me, and they brought me a guy, and I was like, no, I need two women to come and explain this. And they were amazing, and they did a workshop with the actors and, to teach them the kind of philosophy behind it. But I was really careful that the exploration of their sexuality, I don't feel like is exploitative or gratuitous or anything. It's just kind of their love story, and it's an extension of their love for each other.
Who is the best at rope tying?
It wasn't me.
You're all rubbish.
Bella Heathcote.
We're all really bad.
I'm like, who was the best?
You were. Yes.
Just came naturally to me.
Moving on.
So having a female director, does that make it easier to do, I know specifically for the actresses, to do these kind of, these sexual scenes and these explorations into that?
I don't know if, look, for me, I'm not sure if it was the female director aspect or just Angela was so experienced at shooting those kinds of scenes, and she seems so comfortable and relaxed that I was like, okay, cool, I feel safe in her hands. And she has a very specific way that she likes to shoot them, which I'm going to carry into all my future projects, where she just plays music throughout the whole scene. And we had an awesome playlist. And then it just becomes fun, which is what it should be, instead of like gritting your teeth and just trying to get through it and praying it will be over soon.
Yeah, and I think that, Angela had a very specific personal interpretation of this story. There are many, many, many different ways that you could tell this story based on the facts that we have available about the Marstons. And there is definitely the non-female gaze version, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. And it was quite clear that she was making a version that was the story that she needed to tell. And I think that gave us a level of trust that was specific and strengthening, actually.
And
cool.
And I think we've heard it quite a few times in the last few weeks of this purity, this chemistry that we had, and it came very naturally. But I think we felt responsible to not portray this sort of, it wasn't any perversion there. It was just something that they did together, and they were all very happy to do it together, and there was a fun to it. And I think we all sort of, we felt that when we were
allowed to laugh, which I think is crucial, actually, because there's often a lot of laughter in things that involve...
In the bedroom.
And that's often omitted from movies. Suddenly everyone becomes very poker-faced, and we've got to be sexy. We've got to act sexy. And this was kind of like the first big sex scene that we did. We all walked on quite nervously, sort of thinking, okay, we've got to get ready, and here we go for take one, and we know what we've got to do, and...
Oh, you lady pup there.
And then Angela didn't tell us, but then she blasts from the speakers, Marvin Gaye's
Let's Get It On.
So we all started laughing hysterically, and then that was kind of the tone of the rest of it.
In the film, you see them laughing, and that's what they're laughing at.
Was there a lot of singing on set? I know Luke's a singer.
There was some singing.
Any opportunity, I'll sing a song.
Yeah, there was a lot.
All of them. All three of you.
Yeah, we're all big singers. We like singing. We were happy. It was a fun shoot.
It was really fun.
The chemistry between all three of you is so, you're rooting so hard for all three of these people in the movie because it's so clear that they love each other. But particularly the married chemistry between you two is so strong. You really believe these two have a history together. How did you establish that? I know you're both West End theater people. Maybe you have some real...
was everything to do with it.
I don't know. Maybe it does. I'd never connected that together. No, I don't know. I mean, research-wise, there's a lot of really great. Well, there's not a lot. There's a few, but they're brilliant. These photographs, which I had connected with, and so had you, where you see the Marstons at the beach. The Marstons testing their early lie detector test on someone, Olive behind the screen, and they informed both of us a lot about how close these two people were. You also then know that Elizabeth was a very intellectual, accomplished woman. And he was a professor who'd written 5 books on his own theory. They're big thinkers. They thought outside the box, and I think that was something that I could pull on, thinking, well, these two people, they know each other inside and out. And they'd also, you can carry on if you want to tell us the history. They'd known each other for a very long time.
Yeah, they'd known each other for a very long time. But I feel it's sort of how Angela's conceived of them in the script. If you put that together with what is loosely known about them, what emerges is an incredibly charismatic, fun, wild couple that you would really like to hang out with. And that's actually, if you sort of fall in love with those people like that and you sort of see the fun that they have together and with everyone that comes into their orbit, that's actually quite easy to play if you're having fun, and we were. So it's kind of, It
was a great, we had great dialogue between the three of us. First it was the two of us, and then when Olive joins, there's this fantastic dialogue between the three of us, and it was so easy to play that connection because it was all there on the page. Once you've got a good script, you can bring it to life much easier than if it's not so good.
I love the scene with Bella failing the lie detector test. Were any of you actually hooked up to a lie detector at any point?
Not that I know of.
Somebody asked me, have you ever been hooked up to the lie? And I was like, no. Oh my God, how awful would that be?
That would have been...
I would be useless.
We
just
were
like
actually...
I played that scene, that would be me on a lie detector. I'm terrible at lying. I just
It was just no,
give it away.
no,
Yeah.
lie. Actually, the lie detector didn't work on the day. We were trying to get this prop, and so a lot of time was spent with. There was this guy who was supposed to pull it when the lie went, and it puppet, and it was just a fiasco. The main prop of the whole damn movie, and it didn't work. So, I'm giving a shout out to Dave Texan, my lovely visual effects friend, who helped us out.
Did a fantastic job.
He did a fantastic job. Yes. So
he made us look like liars, basically.
So a wonderful Wonder Woman movie came out earlier this year, and I think Wonder Woman is getting a whole new generation of fans now, which is exciting. Did working on this film change how you see Wonder Woman, and do you think it's going to change how other people see that character?
Yes, I think it will. I mean, it can only make you think of Wonder Woman differently because she's so famous. She's having this renaissance now with this wonderful Gal Gadot movie, which is done incredibly well, and like you said, has created a whole new audience. And through chance and wonderful timing, that we've got our film coming out, which tells people how this superhero was created, and it will have to change people's perception of her in a great way. It layers so much, and you see that the human side of where she came from,
and that they'd also really. What was so neat about it is that now's the perfect time to go and look at the people whose ideas and their ideals really kind of conjured Wonder Woman into being and inspired who she was, and that they really wanted to change the world with their ideas. They very kind of, massively really wanted to save the world. Yeah. They thought you could change hearts and minds through a pop icon.
In the 30s and 40s, while living together in a polyamorous relationship with children, surviving and trying to, stay on the straight and narrow and, like you said, pay the bills and do the normal stuff. But in the same time, they had these huge ideas of how they could change the world.
Yeah, and to think that, and his psychologies of, that women should be running the world because then we wouldn't fight wars because of their, it was his theory, and that was really threaded into Wonder Woman, and you don't necessarily see that. But you can look at every Wonder Woman, anything that's ever been, and you can see the roots of that. You can see the roots of the lie detector and the lasso. You can see the roots of, the submission to authority, all these kind of the being tied up and then getting oppressed by men, and it's all there.
We need Wonder Woman right now.
Yeah. We do. I really feel that I loved Patty Jenkins' movies so much, and it was this emotional experience. And I thought it was just me because I'd been thinking about the Marstons so long, but like I talked to all these people and they were like, I cried through Wonder Woman. Like a lot of women and men had this response, and I think it's because Wonder Woman's the only superhero who was created to stop war. Like that was her purpose. I mean, other superheroes are for vengeance or to police things, but Wonder Woman was to bring peace, and I feel like that's a message that resonates that we're kind of desperate for right now. So I think that's why she's so powerful.
Did you have any conversations with the Marston children?
I didn't, actually. I decided I wanted to do a bunch of my own research and then form my interpretation. So that's what you see on the screen.
This is a movie that takes place mostly it spans a fair amount of time, 30s and 40s and 50s. All three of you have feel like old movie stars. I had specific images of, Cary Grant, Rosalind Russell, and Carole Lombard coming to mind. Did you study any performances from that era?
That's what I always thought about you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I went through quite a few different versions of the accent because they were from Boston, the Harvard Yard and all that, and I got a lot of footage from the time where they spoke a little differently there, and we tweaked it a few times, and we sort of took it away a little bit. But that informed my character quite a lot because you go into Harvard talking one way and you came out talking another, and everybody did. And so that was something that I was very aware of, that accents for me always physicalize inside of me as well when I speak a different way. So that was a big thing for my character.
Yeah, me too, actually. I found a bit of research that said that Elizabeth Marston was born on the Isle of Man, which is a little island of England, and then moved to Boston when she was 5 and never lost her Isle of Man accent, which was quite an interesting rabbit hole to go down because it turns out there isn't really an Isle of Man accent. It sort of sounds like vaguely Northern English. So I then went through a process of how would I make vaguely Northern English sound like it's partially a bit Boston, and ended up with something that's probably closer to Katharine Hepburn than anything else. But I did actually find someone on a Facebook I found a Facebook group that was... Seriously, that was Isle of Man expats living in America. And I wrote to them and said, can you send me a sound clip? And that was useful.
They sent it, right?
They sent it, yeah. They never knew what it was for, so if you're out there, I'm very grateful.
All right, it's time to open this up for audience questions.
Hi, I'm a psychologist, also a psychology professor, so this question comes from that perspective.
Awesome.
How do you think we as psychologists and to a lesser extent psychology professors are going to be seen after this movie? And I'm very happy it's been made, by the way. I've talked about his story to my students on a regular basis.
I think what's so exciting about the Marstons is that it came I had to learn a lot about the history of early psychology in order to kind of contextualize where he was at compared to his peers at the time. But it was this new science. And what's neat about them is they were really engaged in trying to figure things out. Like they thought they could if you could solve hearts and minds, then you could solve the problems of the planet. And I feel like it was this really exciting endeavor. So I think it'd be great, you know what I mean? I'm really interested to hear what psychologists have to say.
Have you read his theory? You know of the disc theory, and what do you think of it?
I don't know if I should put that on video or not. Keep it to myself.
It's interesting because there's 5 books on it, and they're really, they're...
It's still used today. It's very different, though. I think it's altered from what Marston kind of started with, and his theories on human sexuality and women, but he put all of his theories into the early Wonder Woman comics, which is pretty cool.
Very clever. Thank you.
So Wonder Woman was created during World War II, I guess, and around the same time as Captain America and like very patriotic time. How much did that factor into the story and some of the characters?
Well, Oliver Platt plays MC Gaines, who was the one who discovered Superman and also discovered Wonder Woman. So there's this really fun scene where Marston goes and pitches Wonder Woman as his, feminist ideal, and here's why she's awesome. And so that was a really fun scene to write. So we kind of go into the publishing world at the time, which was this totally different world from the world they'd come from. So it was very unusual that this Harvard-trained psychologist went to into the kind of the comic book arena, because it was a very kind of, comic books were like apps at the time. Like they didn't, it was the biggest like publishing phenomenon since the Bible, and they weren't around, and then suddenly all these kids were using them. So Marston kind of dived into that scene, which was fun.
Yeah. He saw a huge potential there to not just tell a story through pictures in a paper magazine, but to relay really wholesome, informative ideas that he thought would be beneficial to the youth of that time. I mean, I've forgotten if the line that he said about Hitler, did that make the cut?
I did not make the cut.
I won't tell you that.
But I was really excited. I actually recently I showed the film to Zack Snyder and Debbie Snyder, and that was really, because I'm such a fan of all the DC movies, and Zack loved it, and that was gratifying, and Debbie also, and like cried at the end, and we're very moved by the film, and so I was like, woohoo! Like that was, whew! No, I was really, really excited, and also we showed the film to Gloria Steinem, who gave us a quote for it too, so who's huge in Wonder Woman history, so that was exciting.
I think we have one more question.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
So my question is, after the big success that was the Wonder Woman movie, did you guys feel any pressure on your own film coming off of that?
No, I think we're all like, phew.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's what you want to happen. You want there to be like great feelings around Wonder Woman. I think everyone was really happy. I'm speaking.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm just happy. Part of the reason I wrote the movie is I was so frustrated there wasn't a Wonder Woman movie after there's 75 years and she's top 3. And I kept being like, how many reboots of Superman and Batman do we have to see? Like, how many times do we need to see, like, Bruce Wayne's parents killed in an alley, like, over and over and over? I was just like, let's have a new story. Like, let's get Wonder Woman in there. So I started writing it, like, 8 years ago because I was pretty mad about that. And so it's actually this, like, amazing kind of, dovetailing coincidence of history that they fall in the same year. We're pumped, by the way.
All right, so for those of you in New York, these 3 are going, or 4, are you going to be there too?
I am.
All of these guys are going to be signing autographs on limited edition comics at Forbidden Planet at 12:30. So get there if you want to meet this delightful cast and this amazing director. And Professor Marston and the Wonder Women opens this Friday, October 13th. You should see it. It's wonderful. Appropriately.
Thank you.